Welcome to our program on immigration and you. I am your immigration attorney Michael Fulwani, and once again we have with us attorney David Nachman, my partner. David, welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks.
In our prior programs, we were telling our viewers about our trip to India, about our meetings with the American consulates and American embassy in various places, and one of the topics that we promised them in the last program is about communication. It's a very, very important. Some major changes have taken place, and people still continue to sending emails at the consular post about my case pending status. And so, basically, briefly, let me give you some information how it works. If a person goes and applied for a visa, let's say immigrant visa or L visa, H1 visa, the American consul wants additional documents. So he will issue a 221G letter saying submit the following documents. Now those documents have to be submitted to OFC, which is the outsourcing company, and they have the offices every place in India. So that part has to be directly done with OFC. OFC will then forward to the consulate, and then the consulate has to take further action. Now, with David and me were there, we were talking about some problem cases where the documents were given to OFC and 3 months have gone by, 4 months have gone by, nothing has happened. So the consul says, yeah, there's no delay on OFC part, they confirm. We get the documents almost within 1 or 2 days. But then after we look at the file, we find some more work to be done. Probably an investigation, probably further follow-up. And we do take time, so if there's a delay, you can then follow up with us. But follow up with us is not like going to the consulate or OFC. Any inquiries people have about a status, your case is pending 221G admin processing, and you want to find out 3 months, 4 months, you don't go to the post. There is, the inquiry has to go to New Delhi. There's a designated email address where that has to be sent and follow up. And that's not only for you, applicants. Even congressmen, senators, the attorneys, all of us, we have to send that inquiry to New Delhi. And we are wondering, David and me, why would you get Mumbai or Chennai or Hyderabad, then you have to call them and you have to find this? No, you don't call nobody. We have the data information of every post and every case. We have a number, we can look at that and then we respond. So that is the way it works, and sometimes it may not be very effective in some cases because they are only talking about what says in the computer, and since then there might have been some developments taken place, it may or may not be updated, but that's how it works, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I think that, Michael, it's what you make a very good point, and the point is also that how that communication flow takes place, because we've actually had inquiries from our clients, if it's with regard to someone who, let's say, visited the US Consulate office in Chennai to make their application, they're asking us why we're inquiring in New Delhi. Well, the reason why is because all communications have to be funneled through New Delhi, and then, of course, you can go ahead independently and make an inquiry in Chennai, but it's best to make it through New Delhi because you're doing that with the hope that the information flow, because that is their process, goes from New Delhi to Chennai.
Let me add on something very important, is that under this process, consular officer goes on the computer and sees what the information is, he advises you, it's still pending. It's still pending, it's still pending, and the people get frustrated. Now, I tell you what, based upon our experience, if let us say you have an attorney who is handling your case, he has to articulate in such a way in the inquiry that makes the consular officer to go look beyond the computer, and that's the way it can be resolved. Well, that's the way we did it.
Well, that's the value added, Michael, by having an advocate who's working for you as opposed to doing it on your own, because we know that when people make inquiries, those inquiries are not inquiries, they're just sort of on the surface inquiries,
yes,
as opposed to, and we were just discussing subtlety, as opposed to digging deeper below and getting a subtle point across to the officer that you need to dig in a little deeper and get the information maybe from some other database. And that, again, is a form of advocacy which your legal representative should be doing for you if you've hired a legal representative to make an inquiry at the US Consulate on your...
And we have some understanding. I had one case, David, where the case was pending for 4 or 5 months, an NIV case, simple case, and 221G. So I kept on asking the officer when I had a meeting, there previous time. I asked the question, but there has to be some reason. You need any documents? You need any information? At least tell me. So we want to resolve this. He looked at the nothing is needed in this case. Absolutely, we have all that we needed. Just have to wait about 90 days or about 4 months, and then we'll process it. Now that was a clear signal to me. It is nothing more than merely a security issue, because the consulate satisfies. I have everything that I need.
Right.
I don't need no more information, no documents, just awaiting only.
Right. You were able to read between the lines.
So I said, is it security clearance? He smiled. He said, if you know it, why you ask me?
Right.
I said, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But see, it's through your experience, Michael, your many years of experience in dealing with the U.S. consular officers and understanding the processes and the information flow that you're able to deduce the subtle message that's being sent.
Good.
I think that an individual on their own who's making an inquiry to a consulate office is not going to be able to get the same information. So.
Also, we did ask the question, most of the post is not just for any particular post. Every post, we ask the question. People are complaining that you don't look at the papers. We already knew the reason, but we just wanted to confirm from what is going on.
They clearly articulated how they felt about it.
Clearly, they said, yes, we don't look at the papers.
Yeah.
There are several reasons for that.
Right.
First of all, the credibility of the papers is not there. People can bring any papers
Correct.
what they want.
Which is what
We
you
don't have
told
the
our
time.
viewers for a long time, for many years.
We don't have a time.
Right?
A person brings this
Right.
thick
It's a
file
time-
of papers to look at them.
Right.
It's impossible. We have 700-800 people outside in the line. If we spend so much time with each applicant, we won't be able to do 10% of the
Exactly.
cases. So what we have decided, that we will talk to the applicant, maybe 2-3 minutes, and make a decision based on how we feel. And
Right.
they have a lot of experience also, basically. For example, somebody is coming to tourism in Missouri this time. Whole place is full with snow like anything. Somebody going with the children in
Right.
month of February for tourism. The child has an exam in March or April. He got an exam coming up. So he's going in February to take the child away from the school.
Doesn't make
Any
sense.
of these things, I remember old time case where a person said, why are you going to New Jersey? Oh, I am a farmer, I want to see plantains, in New Jersey, I heard.
Right.
In January,
Right.
he said, he just couldn't reply. Then he said, oh, I don't know. Travel agent told me to say that.
Right. So there's a certain amount of common sense that enters into the analysis as to whether or not a visa should be granted. But Michael, one of the intriguing discussions that we had with the officer in one of the consulates, and I can't remember which one it was, is that because you raised, which you often do, the machine that tells the truth.
Truthometer.
Yeah, the Truthometer. And actually, one of the officers raised the new Nexus program, which the government has now, where an individual goes up to a kiosk and they speak to a machine, and the machine reads your retinal, it reads your eyes, and determines whether or not you're lying. And if the machine decides that you're lying, it refers you on to an officer to do further inquiry. But if the machine feels that you're not lying, it grants the approval. And we were talking to one of the consular officers, and jokingly they were saying, well, they may roll this out to the various kiosks in India. And it'll be interesting to see how the government uses technology to determine whether or not individuals are telling the truth, and to use this methodology to determine their subjective intent.
So they're beating me before I come up with the Truthometer.
That's right. Well, your idea obviously was taken by them and put to
let me
use.
tell you, it's much better than going back 25 years. Real case, I'm telling you. There was an American consular officer in one of the posts, I cannot name, one of the posts that we met that officer, and this is the way that he was doing things. He had a person comes in, he says, denied, sorry, Sam says so. Sam says, what is Sam he's talking about? He had an imaginary monkey on his shoulder. And he always used to say, Sam, what do you say? Sam will tell no, say no. And I was shocked, 25 years ago. And when I came back to US, the chief of the regulations in the Department of State, I said, this could be happening? He smiled, he said, I know who you are talking about, and he's about to leave anyway, so.
Well, I was going to say either that or they have to heavily medicate him.
So sometimes, but now at least we found that most of the consular officers are very sharp, smart. Now, problems happen sometimes on 214B denials, right? Also,
Of course.
because one of the things is a training issue. Most of the new officers that go from US and the school, they just go the first assignment is India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, first time.
Right.
And they don't have much experience about how to do the interviews, the 6 or 8 weeks of quick training. Of course, they are trying. They are in the post, the chief, and they have programs, they are trying to train them. But nevertheless, the fact is that they are brand new and they are in the process of learning, and they do look at things. For example, we talked about in a previous program a director of a Bollywood that was denied, and when I talked to the chief, he says, listen, Mike, just new guy came in, I understand, I realize. Just tell him to reapply and then issue the visa. So these things do happen, and the 214B denials also depend on what people say. As we said, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, the person is not able to answer a question properly, right? Or gives an ambiguous answer. How long you want to go? He's 6 months. He's working here a job. Which company gives you 6 months leave for tourism? Right? Where are you going? And he's not able to answer. Where is your brother working? So from 2, 3, 4 answers, universities. Why did you only apply for this one or several of them? And he said only one. And some other guy would say I applied for 7 or 8 and I got 4 of them and I found this is the best for me because my course is the best in that particular university. It's a good answer.
Right.
So within 4 or 5 minutes, I would say the consular officers is able to evaluate in most cases.
Right.
Now that doesn't mean that the mistakes don't happen. That doesn't mean
Because they do, all the time.
All the
No
time.
system is perfect.
Yeah. Now, mistakes. So how do you resolve the mistakes? Same thing. Basically, you keep on going back, applying again and again and again and again and again, and each time another denial, another denial, another denial. So the consular officers say, there's no point of reapplying. We already talked to you, we already saw who you are. Don't reapply unless you have some change in the circumstance. Something new, or maybe you just didn't realize that you just walked in the consulate, stamped my passport, and you didn't realize that you had to be bringing papers or showing anything. Or you were single at that time, 5 years ago. Today you are married, have 2 children.
Right.
Some change in the circumstances, something that makes us to re-adjudicate your case or to overturn the previous denial.
Right.
So that's very, very important, for people to understand.
I think another thing, Michael, another point which I found very helpful, having met with the consular officers, which I didn't really pick up on, I guess it's more of a subtle point. When we first went, I didn't focus on this as much of as an issue, but it is a communication issue because it has to do with what's called consistency. And that is that the consular officers rotate through the consulate. They're not there static all the time. And I got a better sense now, having talked to the consular officers this time about number one, where they've been. That's very helpful to understand where they've been, what consular offices they've been in before, because obviously there are certain posts that are very high fraud and certain posts that are very low fraud. So it's interesting to know where they've been, how long they're going to be where they are, and then possibly where they're going. So each of these things are helpful information to help us to understand how that officer might be thinking, how they might be judging the cases.
Yeah, see, also on 214B cases, they also look at the passport of the applicant to see where else has he traveled. And we have found that if a person has traveled to, let's say, European countries, somebody said, yeah, I went to Singapore and Nepal, is not really going to make the consul look positively. But a person has gone to England, to Europe, to Switzerland and other countries, maybe Canada, frequently went and came back. That shows a track record of that person, that he is really somebody that will go and come back and not going to remain in India, the US illegally or work there.
Correct. Yeah, I think that what we've tended to find is that the cases that are easier to do for visitor visas are individuals who have visited Western European countries and then come back and never stayed there. So, yeah.
Well, once again, we are coming to an end of the program. David, thank you very much
Thank
for
you,
coming on
Michael.
the program.
Always a
and
pleasure.
thank all of you for watching our program. Please keep watching us every Saturday and Sunday. Thank you very much and goodbye.